All right, aloha and welcome again to our Wednesday meeting. As you can see, the DRC, the Disaster Recovery Center, has moved on to Royal Lahaina Hotel and the Hyatt Ballroom, two different areas. So the gym we have all to ourselves this week. We're going to go ahead and start, and I want to remind you, if you have a cell phone, please put it on quiet. If you have to take a call, please take your call outside, and then we'll go from here. And you're going to see some slides tonight. For those of you watching live online or at Akaku, those slides are made available on our mauirecovers.org. And if you're watching on our social media platform, we zoom in on the slides. They show up on your screen, so if you have time seeing it. All right, so let's begin tonight's meeting. Happy to be here. Oh, Mia, it's not working. Oh, Mia, I don't know. Oh, sorry, hang on a second. Technical difficulty. Oh, got to put the on button on. Want to again invite you to visit our counselors here this evening. They're on the far right, far left table, your right, my left. And again, as always, you can call or text 911 for any support. And we have our faith group here tonight if you would like to spend time with them. And okay. For local crisis, this one says 988, and we're going to talk about 211 in a little bit as well. Okay. But our hotline is also available for 808 callers. So mahalo for joining us tonight. We have a number of interesting things we're going to share with you. One is give you a little bit of update on the opening of our Recovery Permitting Center that opened up a few days ago. We were waiting for a very long time, very excited. So we have Mike Renner here to share how it's going. This is day 3. We're making some good progress on that. You'll get an update from the Army Corps of Engineer. Colonel Swenson is here to share with you. And we'll hear from EPA about the status of the drinking water sampling. And we'll also hear from someone from the Office of Recovery to talk about the alternative debris program. We invited the state DLNR's district supervisor, district manager, Paul Sensano. We've had a number of meetings asking about the status of Lahaina Harbor. So we thought we'd invite him and he could tell you instead of us keep interpreting for you. And our entire team will be here for questions, as always, through each meeting. Want to remind you of a few things. First of all, this Saturday is a continuation, our second neighborhood planning workshop for residents of Wahikuli. So Wahikuli, this is your Saturday. And for those of you inquiring about a virtual option, like if you move to off island, out of state, our team is working on that so that you can participate. It's not a done deal yet. You want to make sure it's done well and you can participate well. So those announcements will be coming. We have not forgotten. But Wahikuli folks, again, Lahaina Luna High School cafeteria, 3 o'clock. The doors open at 2:30. So in other words, your reunion time is at 2:30. Okay, come 2:30, talk story, because what we learned at the last one, the Kilauea Mauka one, it turned into a 2-hour reunion. Was a little bit hard for our team. Was terrific to watch everybody. Good fun, but hard to do the actual workshop. So we invite you to come at 2:29. Wait by the door or hang out. 2:30, you can enter. 3 o'clock, our team would like to start. And then you can hang out after again too. So just know that the doors open at 2:30. Last week we heard from Malia Davison talk about 211. We're going to hear a little bit more from the Deputy Director of the State Department of Human Services, who's going to talk more about the update on 211. That was really good information. So I hope all of you are making use of 211. You hear about how disaster case management is important to help navigate this entire process for so many of you. I'm going to turn this over to Mayor Bisson, but also a reminder before you leave tonight, we have a voter information table just so you can confirm your address or update your address. So please stop by their table and make sure that your address on file is correct. Mayor?
Aloha mai kako, Lahaina ohana. Happy May 1st or happy May Day, Lay Day for everybody, which is why I'm wearing the lei that I was given. And so I want to update you folks on a couple of things that have happened just yesterday. This is the Kala'iola groundbreaking that took place up at Leali'i. All the different partners that came together to make that happen. I don't know, Trista, if you're going to talk anything about that. Trista may add more to that. 450 units being put up there for our families here from Lahaina. So you'll find out more about how to apply and eligibility. But that happened yesterday. The second that happened was Ke'au Maluhia, which is in Kahului. The Fraser Ohana from Lahaina, this young couple, they're actually seated here. They were presented keys to this 2-bedroom, about 600 square foot cottage. And they have 2 young children, a 1 and 2-year-old. That particular family moved 9 times since August 8th, and they were given the keys to this home now. There's a couple more things they have to add in there, but they were the first family to be given a place, and I mean given to them. We have these units for 5 years in Kahului. This is on county land, but the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement are the folks that put them up and ordered them. This is the first of 50 units. Instead of a residence on this lot at Mauilani, there's going to be 2 cottages on each lot. And in some of the larger lots, they're able to fit 3. And again, this is being given out. There are applications that can be applied for online. Again, this just happened yesterday as well. There won't be pictures accompanying the 2 other things I wanted to mention. Kaiser Permanente opened actually in March, but their ground blessing was yesterday. And that was also a result of a lot of partners. And that's in Lahaina. And that's as you pull into Kaanapali next to, I think that's the old Apple Annie's, right, that used to be there. Next to that is where they have those units, about 5,000 square feet. Really nice, available for Lahaina people. That's Kaiser Permanente. And then this Saturday, the FEMA will be opening or having a groundbreaking, I should say, for Kilohana, which is another unit across the way from Kala'iola up at Leali'i for 169 units. And they're going to start on that as well, too. So those are all the things that happened, 3 things yesterday and the one that's going to happen Saturday. So yeah, so good news for everybody here. And again, all together, we're trying to get as many units built with the help of all of our partners, the state, the private companies, nonprofits, of course, FEMA and others. So just stay tuned. And again, we'll continue to update you on those things. And next is Office of Recovery. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that? Okay. So the Office of Recovery at Lahaina Gateway is, we have been working on getting a location out on this side. Obviously, it's been very difficult. A lot of folks are trying to find space to either open up a business or do some work out of. So this is the leads on this. You've maybe heard from already, Josiah Nishita, Keanu Lauhi. They're the folks that are responsible for this, standing this up with the 6 RSFs that we're going to have out there, the recovery support function groups. And so I just wanted to report on that. When are you going live? Okay, I'm gonna give you a very specific date. We're gonna go live soon. Yeah, that was us. That's the exact date. So anyway, thank you everybody. We'll see you at the end if you wish. Oh, I want to say one other thing. Pretty soon we're gonna phase out of this gymnasium so the parks guys can get back in here and do some work. But we're gonna go right below to the social hall. So we'll still have our meetings, likely continue to be on Wednesdays. But please look for the signs if we shift everyone back down to the social hall area instead of having to come up here. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mayor. Next week we'll be here, and then the following week we'll come down. Councilmember Tamar Paulton is off island this evening. She did want you to know that we're getting very close to announcing information on what she shared with all of you about the funding available for homeowners. So we're looking forward to that announcement. And she regrets not being here, but she had to fly out last minute today to get to Hawaii Island. Okay. Before I call up Mike Renner of Fort Leaf to talk about how it's going, I did want to call up Trista Spear, who is here on behalf. She's a Deputy Director of the State Department of Human Services. Did I have that correct? And we talked a lot about 211 last week, and it was so critical. I'm going to go back to that slide just so we can remember the numbers and allow Trista to give an update. And Malia is here as well. They'll be here for questions again later. No, all of you had a lot of questions the last time. Trista?
Thank you so much. For everyone here, I don't believe I've had the opportunity to meet most of you in person. My name is Trista Spear. I'm the other Deputy Director for the Department of Human Services. I know many of you have heard from Deputy Director Joseph Campos, who has come and presented. So thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity, Mayor Bisson, for the invitation. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but again, focusing on the Disaster Case Management Program, which, as many of you know, is your quarterback towards recovery. It is a program that is FEMA funded, but it's open to all, regardless of your FEMA eligibility. You don't even need to have applied for FEMA. It's also available to any of your ohana or friends who were impacted by the fires but have moved off island. If they've moved to the mainland, if they've moved to another country. I recently, just last week, met an individual. I was back up on the mainland, and I met an individual from Lahaina who we organically ended up in a conversation, and that person is eligible to receive services. So please call 211. If you are off island or if your friends are and want to engage, they should call 808-ASK-2000. Again, that's 808-ASK-2000 or 808-275-2000. That will also get them to Aloha United Way. They can express an interest in the Disaster Case Management Program. To set everyone's expectations, you should expect when you call 211 to receive a call back from someone in about 2 weeks. Right now, with the number of calls that we're receiving, it'll take about 2 weeks for us to process all of those incoming calls. You'll receive a call back, we'll process your information, and then it'll be up to another 2 weeks for someone, a care navigator, to be assigned to you and your household to help begin you with navigating your recovery, whether that's a housing solution, need for mental health services, or any other unmet needs that you need assistance with navigating. We know that this is very difficult, and we appreciate everyone's patience. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Trista. I'm going to turn this over to Mike Renner, who'll share some. Go forward on the break.
Make sure I can work the slides. Hi, everyone. Mike Renner. Probably met a lot of you last 2 weeks ago or so. I'm the project manager from Fort Leaf for the Recovery Permit Center. My theme is I'll always be quick with you. So here's our location, time, and phone number. I'm sure we'll be able to switch back to that. That's the obviously the county DMV center. So these are the metrics as of yesterday. So the first 2 days, we took in 24 permits. They're in queue, processing, walk-ins, phone calls. That's great too. We love to have people in. But those are big numbers. And I just wanted to note that having 24 permits in queue the first 2 days is more than any other recovery we've done on the mainland. So people are ready to go. And we also couldn't do that without the partnership of the county staff. they've been absolutely amazing to work with. So here's the map system, the electronic login system. Here's what's to remember when you submit your plans. Just make sure you click disaster. If you don't, it'll send you down a different path. If that does happen, it'll get caught at some point by one of our team members, and we will be able to route it back in. But that'll be the quickest way to go. And there's 2 of the websites there that, if you have magnifying glasses, you can read, but I'm sure you can see them later. And that's it for me. I'll be around for questions. Thank you.
Slides. Aloha. It's good to see everyone. My favorite night of the week. Honestly, Mayor, it's my favorite night of the week. So I was just on my phone, not trying to be rude, but I was just thinking about the news I was going to tell you, and I just wanted to put it into context. So 24 April, many of you were here, the same place. That was last Wednesday. I briefed that our little C cleared was 774 properties, residential properties. Now, I used to teach math, and I don't like to do math in public. But today, I'm proud to say that we are at 869. Yeah, that's nearly 100 cleared residential properties in 1 week. So that's a huge number. For our capital C that was cleared. For our capital C complete, we are at 322. That's properties that have been, paperwork has been turned back over to the county and ready for our friends from Four Leaf to start processing that for ultimately getting you a building permit. I do want to thank everyone publicly for your assistance with getting some of our ROEs. I think I said last week that I'd have tea with anyone who has questions and try to convince them or help them understand the program better so they can make an informed decision. And I'm proud to say again that we've gotten a few additional folks that have come forward and had questions, and we were able to answer their questions. And I'm hopeful that that will lead to future ROEs that will be turned into the county and then ultimately forwarded to the Corps for us to get out there in the next couple weeks or month or so and clear those properties. And I look forward at the end of this to taking any questions you may have. Thank you.
Aloha. Likewise, my favorite night of the week is to come here and talk to you all. It's truly my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. So I wanted to give you a little more of an update. We talked last week in brief, and today I want to go just a little further. I promise I won't be too long, but I wanted to give you enough details so you understand what it is we're doing currently, and you can tell about how far we have come. One bit of news is that we have moved from downstairs in the Civic Center, our field operations, to the Boys and Girls Club. And I'm proud to say we were able to do some good work. I think that when we turn it back to the Boys and Girls Club after we complete our operations, it'll be just that much closer to be reopened and usable by the boys and girls and the community. So it's a wonderful facility. We appreciate the Boys and Girls Club for allowing us to use it. And I look forward to sort of turning it back and seeing that next step towards normalcy. So just a quick review of why we need to sample your service laterals. And I want to be clear what a service lateral is. It's the pipe between the water main, the big pipe in the middle of the street, and the meter box. Okay, it's owned by the utility. It's on the utility's side of the meter box. It's not the line that goes from the meter box to the home. Unfortunately, those are all mostly destroyed or have been, sort of cleared as part of debris removal. During this fire, and in most structure fires where there's widespread damage and the water system drains out either because of firefighting or because of breaks in the lines, when that water leaves the system, it draws contaminants into the pipes. It is not all across the board. Some of the pipes are probably perfectly fine. It depends on what the water was doing at each particular location. And there's no way to predict exactly which pipes are okay and which are not. So the process that we're following under our mission assignment from FEMA is to sample these service laterals one by one. The total number that we have to do that haven't already been done by the county is about 1,361 laterals. When we do find the contaminants, then the next step is to isolate that service lateral, because we can't leave it connected to your water system, because those contaminants could migrate out of that service lateral and into your water. So the isolation step is to then protect the system and protect you from these contaminants. Once we have all either non-detected, so no contaminants in a service lateral, or isolated service laterals, then with that information, the county can amend the unsafe water advisory. And again, it's all up to the county, Department of Water Supply to make those decisions. We are just providing them the information as rapidly as we can. And so I'll refer you again to mauirecovers.org, where you can find the updated information on the unsafe water advisories. But I'm sure when they're ready to lift the next unsafe water advisory that Chemo or someone else will be here to tell you about it. So here's our current progress. Now we still have these 3 hydrants. I showed you that last week. We made no progress on those. Unfortunately, those 3 hydrants are in an area that is covered with debris, and there's no right of entry, so Army Corps can't clear that debris. So there's sort of just underlining what he was saying. Until we have those right of entries, we can't clear the debris. In this case, we can't complete that hydrant area. But that area is sort of in the industrial area near the old sugarcane plant. So it is not really going to impact residential drinking water. And I think it can remain isolated, and we're working on that solution. The drinking water sampling, though, we've seen a great progress in the last week. We were just under 50% last week, and now that number is actually from this morning. I'm pretty sure we've passed the 66, the 2/3 mark. So we're making steady progress on that sampling. And I will tell you again that we have focused on areas where there are unburnt structures. So in the north, Wahikuli and Puamana. And we also began the isolation phase. So we're starting a little bit slow to ramp up, to work out the bugs and make sure we're doing that process properly. But we'll be speeding up as we can with isolation. We're not Army Corps. For various reasons, we can't throw like 20 crews at the isolation. We're gonna have to be sort of steady with that, but we'll be proceeding and you'll see progress as we go. This progress can be tracked on our website, so you can come here and see how we're doing. So you see the gray area, that's the 1/3 left on sampling we haven't done. The rest of that pie is in process, and the parts that are green, light green and dark green, we're done. So you can see our progress, and that website URL epa.gov/Maui-wildfires/updates. Update or updates? With an S, sorry, updates. You can go and we'll update that every single day so you can see our progress. So I just want to show you what this isolation phase looks like. First, the county will go and they'll mark on the street where the main line is and where this lateral is so that we know where to dig. We have a crew that comes in and cuts the street, and then the heavy equipment comes in to remove the asphalt and carefully dig into that hole. There's a couple reasons we need to be careful. But by the way, if you see us out there, do be careful. We are closing off or mostly closing off most of these streets while we're working on them. So for that reason, we're doing it just sort of section by section. We have to stay out of the Army Corps' way and coordinate all that. But please do be careful if you see us out there. We don't want anyone to get hurt, either yourselves or us. The digging has to be done carefully. We are very aware that there are some areas that, you know, are sensitive. There could be burials, there could be artifacts. So we have an archaeologist at all times while we're doing the digging, and they're examining the digging. It's done slowly and methodically. If they find anything, we stop, and we follow the proper protocols for an archaeological investigation. And as per the cultural monitors who are also with us, if there's anything we need to do, they need to do, we stop and let that happen. We're going as fast as we can, but we have to do it taking care as we go. And then finally, once we have exposed the service lateral that is contaminated, we turn off the valve that's at the main, we cut it, we put a little cap on that. So with the valve closed and the cap on that, we have isolated the contaminants from the rest of the system, making sure that that part is safe, and we go on to the next one as needed until all of them are either isolated or have been proved to be not contaminated by sampling. When we're done, we fill the hole back up. We have to do it carefully. We have to compact as we go so that this doesn't turn into a terrible pothole. And then in the end, we put asphalt on top. So once the asphalt is sort of set up, we remove the cones, and it's just back to being a street. At the end or further down the line, when it's time to rebuild, the county will replace this service lateral that we've isolated. So in those cases where there were contaminated service laterals, there'll be a brand new lateral to serve the meter that then serves the home that you're going to build. And with that, just our information, how you find out more, and I'll be available for questions afterwards. And you know, I'll just say it, Maui no ka'oi. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Carl is working on his Hawaiian, his Olelo Hawaii. You guys can see that. So you got to give him credit for trying in front of a crowd, by the way. Takes a lot of courage. I had to share something when he mentioned the Boys and Girls Club. So I was talking to Kelly Pearson yesterday. A lot of you know Kelly. She's the director for our island. And she happened to tell me that when EPA came in to the Boys and Girls Club, the club was damaged in the interior, and there are other things that needed to be fixed. The EPA fixed all of it for them. Yeah, I think that's a really nice. They were not expecting that. They thought they were just going to use their place as they needed it, but they ended up fixing all of it so that when they get it back, it'll be even nicer. And there are a couple other surprises that she's expecting from what she said to me about how that place is going to look when they are done and when they move on to their next mission. So I really did want to say thank you to Carl for doing that extra surprise that the Boys and Girls Clubs were not expecting, but that's going to be that much quicker that they can get back to our kids and our keiki on this side. So thank you, Carl. Aaron Wade will be presenting next.
Thank you, Mayor. Aloha and happy May Day to you. I'm here to provide an update on right of entries and next steps. Something's really positive to report today. Out of the nearly 2,200 properties we had, only 58 have not submitted something. So congratulations to everyone who has already taken the time to submit. We have 58 remaining properties we're trying to get rights of entry to. Did you hear the first part? Okay. Out of the 2,200 properties that we originally were trying to clear, only 58 haven't submitted rights of entry. So we're almost there. For those that haven't yet, we do need to share that there are now deadlines, okay? We're setting deadlines to sign up for right of entry by June 15th. So if you, your neighbor, or someone you know has not signed up already to have their lot cleared, June 15th is the deadline to either sign up or fill out an application for the alternate debris removal program, okay? It's required to enlist in one of the two. We can't have people cleaning without using the correct and safe protocols for yourself and for the neighborhood. So we do need you to be permitted to do the cleanup. So the 15th is the deadline to sign up. If you choose to do alternative debris removal, you need to submit a completed work plan by August 1st and have removal done by September 15th, okay? So that's our deadline. That's approximately when Army Corps is targeting wrapping up all of the cleanup that they have in that general time frame. We'd like to set the same deadline for alternative cleanup, okay? If you or someone you know would like to sign up or even just get more information about alternative debris, you can go to mauirecovers.org on alternative debris, and we'll provide you direct information about this. And we do want to get your contact info so we can start having a conversation about how you might be able to proceed. Again, please do not do cleanup without a permit and the proper protocols. It is dangerous for you in the neighborhood. We want to make sure everybody is safe. We have had an incident recently and enforcement is taking place. So I want you to know there's inspectors throughout the district. Please be careful for your own health and safety and the environment in the neighborhood. That's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Erin. She really wanted to tell you that there were, what, 58? 58 right of entries that we still need. So this guy in the uniform that we've all been kind of afraid of because he's going to show up with a teapot in your neighborhood. He's like totally grinning. 58 out of 1,000. So that's amazing. If you're one of the 58, we invite you to talk to our folks and get that right of entry done. Before I turn this over to Paul Sensano, the district manager for the state's Department of Land and Natural Resources, I just want to say we invited Paul here because we've had a few questions about Lahaina Harbor. You know, what's the update on that? So we asked him to come here. He may look familiar to some of you or maybe none of you, but he's also the former postal, what was that title? Of Kalaupapa. Way back in another lifetime, and he's here on Maui, and we're very happy to have him within our community. So I'm going to turn this over to Paul right now to share a little bit about the status of Lahaina Harbor.
Aloha Inala, Mahina, Paul Sensano with the DLNR Boating and Ocean Recreation. The screen is blank. That's because nothing has happened at Lahaina Harbor. Basically, because it's been going through a process of getting cleaned up. But we have focused most of our energy at this time in getting Ma'alaya set up, and so that we have our customers, commercial and recreational people, being able to continue to operate, but on the south side of Kahului and Wailuku. A couple of things. I'm just going to read to you what our engineer, since he's the one that is in charge of getting all these permits and procurement. And when he needs our help, then he gives me a call and says, okay, this is what's going on. This is what's been approved. So if you guys don't mind, it's baseball season, so I'm going to stand in the box, stand in a corner. It's harder to get a strike, hit me with the ball if I'm standing in the corner. So anyway, let me just go ahead and read off what he has. And then, of course, we'll be here to take care of, answer any questions that you might have. So here are some updates for the Lahaina Harbor rebuild projects. Fuel Dock, the contractor, is continuing their work to rebuild and restore the fuel system. Estimated completion date is May 18th, 2024. That project is going to move forward, which will enable us to allow vessels only to come into the pier to refuel instead of having to go to Kahului or come to Ma'alaya and get fueled by the truck. Removal of piers and mooring anchors. The scope of work is to remove approximately 35 each piles and 75 mooring anchors. The contractor is currently removing remaining piles and mooring anchors within Harbor Basin and storing them in a parking stall behind the inner marginal wharf. Estimated completion is June 2024. And the reason for that is we've had a delay with regards to making sure that the concrete that was exposed to the fire was compatible to either rebuild or remove it completely and put new. Okay, so if you had the opportunity to pass by the harbor, Sea Engineering has been on the contract and they've been already pulled most of the metal piles and the piers from the front row and the inner marginal wharf. Okay. The main loading fender piers, the scope of work is to replace all plastic lumber fenders around the main loading dock and replace all cleats. Construction Contract Act is being executed now. Estimated start July 2024. Estimated completion is November 2024. And that has been taken in this part of the rebuild so that vessels can come up to the dock and safely moor along the dock to either refuel. That would be the main part, would be to come up and refuel. But right now, the fire had burned a lot of the plastic lumber that sits on the dock, so we have a lot of protruding bolts and nuts that are sticking out. So we've got to take care of that so these vessels can come in and moor safely against the loading dock. The front row piers, the scope of work is to replace and reorganize the layout of the finger piers and install new mooring piles. New piers will be aluminum framed with plastic lumber fenders and FRP decking. New heavy-duty cleats will be installed on the bulkhead, and new dock boxes will be installed along the rock wall where previous dock boxes were located. Consulting contract is being executed and design permitting are underway. Estimated design completion is August 2024. Estimated permitting completion is October 24, with the estimated bid date is November 2024. The inner marginal wharf, which is the one that was the wharf that was right behind the school. The scope of work is to replace the wooden inner marginal wharf structures with new aluminum frame structure with plastic lumber fenders, FRP decking, and new Tahiti-style mooring anchors and buoys, waiting for final fire damage inspection report from consultants to determine if piles are reusable or must be replaced. Expecting to receive it this week. If piles must be replaced, plans must be updated to include driving new piles closer to the rock revetment. Construction contract will need to be modified to add installation of new piles and modify already fabricated gangways. Note, this project was already contracted and funded prior to the wildfire. Inner marginal wharf structures has been fabricated and currently stored at Ma'alaya. So materials are here, they're already fabricated, and they're sitting at Ma'alaya Bayshore. The outer marginal wharf, the scope of work is to replace the fixed outer marginal wharf structures with new floating dock using existing piles as guides. So these docks, so if you remember, were tied to the marginal wharf, and then they had mooring blocks that they kept themselves off of the marginal wharf. Well, what we're going to do is when we get the samples of the piles is use the piles as guides for a floating dock, and everything will be more towards the breakwater. What that's going to do is probably open up a lot more space in between the outer marginal wharf and the inner marginal wharf for navigating within Lahaina Harbor. And then, of course, dredging. The scope of work is to dredge the harbor basin and entrance channel to previously authorized depths. This project still needs CIP funding for design, permitting, and construction. Estimate cost is about $4 million. CIP funding was not included in the current legislative budget. May need to wait until next legislative session for funding for dredging. Overall timeline for rebuilding Lahaina Harbor is going to be 3 years, subject to timeline and funding. And that's basically it for Lahaina Small Boat Harbor. And if you guys have any questions, my office is at the Maalaea Small Boat Harbor. My email address is paul.k.sinsano@hawaii.gov. That would be the best way to contact me, and anytime I'm available, I will respond to your call. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. And as the work progresses for Lahaina Harbor, we'll continue to invite Paul back to give us an update, and he can entertain us again with the box stories. We're going to go ahead and proceed with questions, but I have one announcement as an update. We are still working on a Central Maui meeting so that we can accommodate those who have moved out of West Maui temporarily, and reside upcountry or on the North Shore or Central or South Side. We are just needing to schedule that and find a location. We're bumping up against the graduation season, so a lot of the public community halls are taken, so that's a little bit of the delay. We're gonna go ahead and take some questions, and our microphones will go out. I have an online question that came up, and it looks like it's for EPA. It says, how do we get our soil test results? The county says Army Corps says EPA. So they'd really like the results, and is that indeed EPA?
Unfortunately, that is not EPA in this case. And in fact, maybe Army Corps has the better answer for us. Or maybe I'm mistaken.
I probably need to dig a little deeper with my team, but we submit all of the results. We return the ROAs to the county, and it's a packet of material. It's a digital packet that goes back to FEMA. I just need to confirm. Does it also? I think it also goes to the county, but I don't. I need to confirm that. I'll get an answer for you next week. I don't have it. Oh.
Hi, Colonel. Thanks. The packet that comes back, the closeout packet, does not include the soil sample results, but you can call the Army Corps of Engineers number to get that specifically for your lot. So that number is 877-214-9117. 877-214-9117 if you want the specific soil sample results for your lot. Okay.
Thank you. Team effort. EPA, Army Corps, and County. At this time, we're going to ask for questions. As always, we ask you to raise your hand. We have 2 mic runners, Cynthia Lalo there, Sharon Banaag, right in the middle, a little bit. And then anyone else? Uncle in the front, Sharon, right here, uncle in the front. Uncle, raise your hand. Okay. Go ahead, ma'am.
Aloha.
Aloha.
My name is Elizabeth. We used to live in Lahaina. My question is, do we know what the setbacks will be for those who want to rebuild in Lahaina and by the ocean? And is it true that anything below the highway down to the ocean, which is the biggest part of Lahaina, will remain an SMA, which means Special Management Area, which it sounds like will not be part of the expedited part of rebuilding. So what are the setbacks if you want to rebuild in Lahaina by the ocean? And is it correct that below the highway, we stay in the SMA? Mahalo for answers.
Am I on this one? I will tell you that we are having a shoreline meeting specific for that. You know, if you can look at the land use, the differences and the variations of land use within just the 5-mile area of Lahaina town is complicated. And so we'll specifically address those at a meeting for that, because we want to make sure the right people are in the room and we're able to share it with everyone who knows in advance that we're going to talk about it. So earlier in another meeting, we had talked about June having a meeting specific for shoreline issues, SMA, those things. So we can do a more thorough discussion on that one, including setbacks. Yes, so that the right team can be there and help everyone with those questions. Thank you. All right. Uncle, go ahead.
Thank you. This for Colonel Swenson, sir. I believe and like to believe that you have a tight ship, right? You run a tight ship.
We're in the Army, but we do run a tight ship.
Okay, but you do have the capability of monitoring the speed and energy of the job as far as the manpower.
Yes.
Okay, the reason why I'm asking is because over the weekend, I was informed that there were, not good things going on, and that a driver was approached by another supervisor to slow down. And the reason is so that they can prolong the job to make more money, get more money involved. And he went to his boss, another contractor who has a truck and a driver running debris out of Lahaina, and was so upset that he approached me and informed me that this was going on. And he wanted to come and personally address this, because defectos are infectious things, yeah, that even after this cleanup, it might become a scam thing that can take the already suffering victims into more of a stressful point. But I just wanted to address this publicly because he was so upset, and he's a contractor, and he feels that, it is very important, not only for you, but for the general public, for the community to know that these things might be going on, and that it might eventually go into another stage of bad thing. So I don't know how to, accommodate it other than to kind of like blow your horn to the truck driver and tell thank you, for doing a fine job, and not being persuaded and, listening to other people, because of the money side. That's all I wanted to share.
Uncle, thank you for that. So, first of all, I didn't say the number we did today. We cleared 21 residential properties today alone. We did 18 yesterday. So if there's any concerns about us slowing down, I think they're unfounded. We can't go any faster. Like, I think 21 is probably, or 22 in a day is probably the max we could get, because we only have 23 crews or 24 crews, depending on the day, working. And some lots are bigger than others. But all that to say is we're clearing an awful lot of lots quickly. If someone's asked to slow down, it may, whisper down the lane. It might the message and the meaning and the purpose of that might get morph over time and distance that it travels. But it's probably because my number one priority is safety, and I don't. The longer that our crews are on the roads, I recognize that they get tired, right? So we want to slow down to make sure that we are doing it safely, because a safety incident will set us back. Really set us back, and I don't want anyone to get injured on this. So if we're slowing down, and if they're speeding, we do monitor that as well. And if they're speeding, then we do enforce that as well, because we're here to help, but we're also guests in this community, and we abide by the same rules as everyone else. And there's lots of kids and surfers and pedestrians out and on the roads that we travel on, and we want to make sure that we are going the appropriate speed so that we can safely stop should we need to. But I have not been. I have not. I'll take your comment back and ask, but we are not. Slowing down or speeding up because of a financial reason. We're trying to get the properties cleared as safely and quickly as possible, because that is the first step to unlocking Four Leaf and their ability to work the permitting process, which is the next step, in addition to power, water, and sewer, to getting residents back on their lots and to be able to rebuild their lives. Yes, sir.
Oh, Uncle, wait, microphone coming.
Sorry, sir, it's not a question of your integrity or your honesty and your job well done. It's about how can we address the situation where the on-the-ground workers trying to make more dollars than what they can, and trying to encourage the people on the ground to slow their work down. Nothing to do with what you're doing, but what can there be done to address this side of it? Because to me, that's the start of an infectious disease that can flow down to the construction time of the process.
Yeah.
That money gonna talk. Yeah, they like money. Every angle they can find to make more of a dollar out of a dollar, they're gonna try. And I think we should address that now before it becomes all a problem in the future.
I'll take it back, and I certainly don't want people spreading that rumors. I will say that our progress, our daily clearance rates are at about the max we can do. So if there's anyone trying to slow the process down for some financial gain, it's not being effective. That doesn't affect morale amongst the laborers. I certainly want the morale to be high and people to know that they're not racing, that they're doing this for the right reasons. So we'll take it back and talk to our contractors to make sure we can try to police up that. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Uncle. To the top, go ahead. Sir, your question.
Mahalo for all the hard work, and we certainly appreciate the weekly updates. Could someone share the number of single-family homes that were lost, and how many of those properties qualify for four-leaf fast tracking?
Yeah, we're tracking about, I think we have about 1,269 ROEs that we own right now that we have in our possession. There's a couple hundred that we don't have that are in some state of being reviewed and passed to us, and there's 58 that we don't have yet. But I don't have, at this moment, I couldn't break down the number of single family. There are some complexities to how houses are built here on what we call like a split TMK, tax map key. So there might be two properties on one tax map key, each with their own ROE. We treat those as one. If it's one TMK, it's one property. Even though it could be two, they could be adjoined by a wall. They could be separate and distinct properties with grass between them that you might think of as a single family unit. We might, consider that like a multi-family unit because of the way the tax map keys work. And then if it was a multi-family unit, we would likely treat it as a residential property because it's residential debris. We categorize debris whether it's residential debris or commercial debris. So for me to on the spot, I don't think I could. I can't. I don't think I can get to your answer.
Yeah, but maybe Four Leaf could share what they expect as far as how many residential single-family home applications.
So I believe the number lost was somewhere around 2,200, but I think that will go up. I believe a lot of folks are going to want to build the Ohana and the main dwelling, so that number could go up significantly. So when you ask as well, who qualifies for the four-leaf process? So I want to be clear, it's not a four-leaf process. It's just a county process that we're helping speed up with the county. So if you do have unique planning issues or unique isms on your property, once those pre-clearances are in place, you then come right to our office and we slam the plan review out and all the other ministerial things in 15 days. So I know there's individual hurdles on some properties, and I'd love to talk about those more in like a micro instead of confusing the group.
So if I could just clarify, so of the single families that aren't in the shoreline, that aren't in the ones that don't qualify, how many do you expect to qualify for the 15-day? And I don't need exact numbers. I'm talking 50, 150, 500, ballpark.
Are you asking how many properties are outside of the SMA? Is that a fair?
Well, how many single-family homes that will qualify for the 15-day fast tracking that you expect to see through that process? So they don't, if they're in the shoreline, they don't qualify. If they're in the historic district, they don't qualify. I assume you're anticipating a certain number that you will have to process for the 15-day. I'm just wondering what that number would be about.
I have no assumptions on what we can process in 15 days. I have a staff that can process 2,000 permits in 15 days if needed. So I don't know the metrics. I can get them for you.
Okay, I'll try one last time. So
I'm
let's
not
say,
dancing around your question. I just don't know the answer.
no, but let's say 1,000 single-family homes were lost. Do you expect 25% of those to come your way for fast tracking because they qualify? And would that be about 100, 500?
I do not know the delineation between the amount of structures in the SMA versus not.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question. Again, raise your hand. Oh, okay, go ahead, Sharon.
I'm not sure who to direct this to, but I'm wondering where they're going to relocate King Kamehameha Third School, because I know it takes very, very long for the process to get started.
We do not have a Department of Education person here, but we will put in the request and see if we can get some insight next week for you. Okay. Oh, go ahead, Cynthia. Question at the top.
Hi. For those of us that had debris removal insurance monies, when are we going to be expected to sign those over?
Okay, looks like Erin can help.
Thank you. So following the completion of the total debris removal program, the FEMA and the Army Corps of Engineers will tally all of the costs of the cleanup. We don't expect that to be for about 18 months following the total cleanup process. So that's when you will receive, or your insurance company, depending on how it's set up for you, a bill for requesting your debris cleanup money. So the important piece of that is if you have debris cleanup money, remember to put it aside and wait for that to come so that you have it ready.
Thank you, Erin. Okay, Sharon, question, and then to Cynthia. Go ahead.
Aloha. I don't know who can answer this question. So I understand that today the SB 1902 possibly is moving forward. Is that correct? And and that's for the homeowners with their deferring their mortgages and all that. And then I heard you say that Tamara said that she'll give us more information on the homeowners funds. So I don't know what that's going to be for, those funds. So my question is, where is there any money put aside allocated for homeowners and their mortgages? Like, I understand that for me, I'm paying my insurance. My insurance is taking care of me for a year. I'm gonna try and go through FEMA to get them to help me with my rent. But my mortgage, I'm paying for ashes that I can't live in until who knows when. I need to be smart with my rebuild money because that has to go to rebuilding the house. It's gonna take more than what I already have. So I called MEO to ask for help with my mortgage. They can only help if your house is standing and maybe paying their rent, I guess, other people. I asked, why can't you help us with our mortgage? I'm paying for ashes. They said that the state tells them what to do with the money that they got from Hawaii Community Foundation. And Hawaii Community Foundation is everywhere. You can come off in the airport, you can see it, and everybody all over the world is donating to us survivors. So I just wanted to know, where is there any thought to take care of us who's still paying for our mortgage, which is for us, we don't even get to live in it. And this is not just for me, this is for my cousins. We're just young owners. We just got into our homes. Just wanted to know who's helping us for that. There's only 570 homeowners that are owner occupied, which is a little bit amount of people. And there's 83%, 87% that are renters. And, you know, thank you for taking care of all of us. But just for that small amount of people, just wanted to know who's thinking about us.
I think too, that's a really good question. So why don't we come next week, consolidate the information so that it's whatever is available. We can be more factual on it and be able to point what is available and double check on some things for you. I think that's a good request. Okay, so tonight I'm not gonna guess. I just want to make sure we can give all the information one time. Because it's more than just you, right? It's everyone else facing the same situation as a homeowner and needing some financial assistance especially if you're holding a mortgage. Okay, good point. Thank you for that. We're going to go to Cynthia's question and back over that way. Go ahead, Cynthia.
I was just wondering about the temporary housing that you could put on your lot. I saw something about permits to get a temporary, either a trailer or a tiny home on your lot. And I was wondering how water and power will play into that in the time frame of something like that.
Okay, we're going to have Mike help with that question.
Hi, thank you. So the temporary ordinance is currently with fire is reviewing that ordinance. They have made a commitment to be done, I believe, next week. So they're looking at it from obviously a safety standpoint, right? Access with cores in there, a lot of stuff going on. So they're looking at it diligently. We met with them last week. There will be a requirement to tie into the sewer system if you're on sewer with a clean out at the PL at the property line. But other than that, when it comes to the point where you come in to me, if you want that, it's a very simple checklist. It'll be an over-the-counter permit that we can issue on the spot. There won't be a waiting time. So next week I'll have good answers. Well,
thank you, Mike. Go ahead, Sharon.
I have 3 different questions for 3 different people. So one is about the debris removal insurance. I guess my question is, what sort of invoicing are you expecting for debris removal that we'll have to do that we can deduct from the debris removal insurance money we need to pay you? Because like stumps and some, I will say the Army Corps of Engineers did a meticulous, fast, fabulous job on both of our properties, and one of them was a serious metal mess. So my experience, they're amazing. But when the trees get cut down, we have 6 huge mango trees, and there's going to be stumps and some other trees and stuff. So it is going to cost us more money to remove that. How do you need that invoice so that we can keep part of our debris removal?
Every insurance policy is a little different. So make sure to check with your insurance agent and identify what you're eligible to use your debris policy for first and foremost. And then ask them what kind of documentation they need if you're going to hire a landscape company to remove the fire debris or something else. You're going to want to stay in close communication with your insurance team, because it's likely them who will receive the invoice to say, for this property, we're requesting debris removal insurance payment for whatever the amount is that's remaining after you have spent your allocated cost.
Our insurance already gave us the money for debris removal, so I'll earmark that. But how do I invoice that for you to show? Because I already got the debris removal money. So what invoices do you need for me to be able to deduct what our expenses are?
Yeah, perfect. So hang on to whatever invoices you get, whether it's a hauling company or a landscape company, et cetera. When Tetra Tech has been hired to assist us with that billing, and they're very well versed in this. So we'll have folks available for you to speak with about that once the time comes.
Okay, thank you. My next question is for regarding ROEs. So obviously we did our ROEs and they did a great job. I'm wondering for large parcels or any size parcel where it's maybe generational and they do not have a deed that has a specific name, is that could be possibly what's holding up the final ROEs? And if so, are you going to make any concessions for some of those so we can get properties? We have a couple properties in our neighborhood that are generational family owned and having a hard time dealing with that. And we want to start rebuilding and don't want to build next to a mess. So is there anything that they can do if there's unclear title, deed, whatever?
Great question. So regarding could be multiple owners, there could be any number of complicated ownership situations. In any case, the courts have been accepting a power of attorney. So if the family members or the hui works to get a power of attorney signed for the cleanup, the courts are processing that and allowing that individual to sign for the right of entry agreement. So that's the fastest way through it. And if folks need help with that, the Legal Aid Society of Hawaii has been providing support at no cost.
Okay, and do you have that published somewhere so anybody watching this or listening that's having that issue knows who to contact?
We do. So if you go to the cleanup debris removal, and then it talks about ownership documents and what you need for ownership documents. And there's I think there's 6 different ownership structures that are listed and what needs to be provided. And then if you don't have that, request a power of attorney.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
My final question is for Department of Land and Natural Resources, Paul Cinsano.
Paul? And Cynthia, we have a question on this side. Go ahead with your question.
Thank you for getting our harbors and boat ramps and whatnot back up and going. By Mala Wharf, there between the cemetery and the Public Works pump station is about 2.25 acres of land that's Maui County land controlled by the Department of Land and Natural Resources. Is there a plan for that now that we're kind of rebuilding back Lahaina, that we can have something happen with it rather than just be overgrown kiawe trees and kind of wasted space in a really prime area that we could be having some picnic tables or parking, more parking for down at the, or boat ramp use or whatever. Any plans for that particular parcel?
That topic came up today, actually, between land division in our administration and our property management. So we're working on seeing if the property can get executive ordered over to us, which we would use for parking at this point in time in order to accommodate people that want to launch their boat from Mala or enjoy the beach. So that just came up today. Interesting that you should ask that question.
Thank you for the question. Go ahead on this side.
My question is also for Mr. Cinsano. One of the things that's been happening in Lahaina Harbor over the last 15 years is every time somebody gets a new boat, they decide they want one that's 6 inches or a foot wider, and the boats next to it are getting squished. How are you going to address that?
Well, the reason why the vessels, when they're ordered, this is the difference between having a harbor that you're mooring with a marginal wharf and mooring blocks. Everybody seems to go with the tide and the current. But when you have berths, then you are restricted to the width and also the length. We will charge is if a vessel is beyond so many feet outside of the berth, then you get charged for that. Go ahead.
I'm specifically talking about the width of the vessels. And are you planning on putting finger piers on the outer wharf?
On the outer marginal wharf is going to be a floating dock. But I believe that the floating dock will still act like a marginal wharf, but vessels will still be anchored with a mooring block. It's not like putting finger piers in place.
So if you do not have finger piers, how will you stop people from encroaching on their neighbor's slip?
Well, when they get their permit, they are checked for their width and their beam, their draft and length overall. So
for 15 years, they've been getting away with putting bigger and bigger boats in each slip, and it is causing damage, physical, monetary damage to their neighbors.
Okay, well, all I can tell you is the way that the boats were even put into a berth, you take the two cleats, and the width between the two cleats is going to allow you the width of your vessel, the beam of your vessel.
And that allows no room for fenders to protect vessels from each other when they're physically rubbing against each other.
That's correct. And that's why the floating system works for that situation, because boats next to each other, they'll all move in the same direction as the current or the wind.
It has not worked for 15 years. There has been tons and tons of damage to neighbors' boats.
I need to know who they are so I can research it and see what's actually going on.
Thank you for that question. Again, raise your hand if you, Cynthia, sorry, right behind you. Right back up to the top. Thank you.
Aloha, my name is George. Thank you everyone for what you guys are doing for our community. I wanted to ask about that 450 homes that are being built, the transitional homes. I wanted to know who's eligible and how do we sign up and apply for these homes? Because before you know it, it's going to be here and I want to be able to get in.
We'll have Trista help with that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So at this time, the state is rapidly developing what the application will look like, all of the eligibility criteria, et cetera. We are aiming to have that operational and public around June-ish. And I'm saying ish, sort of like soon. with the exact date, because we are, as stated yesterday, we are looking to open up for folks to begin to move into those homes in August. And so backing out from August, it'll take about 6 or more weeks to process any and all applications. So we are being very mindful of that timeline. But right now, as we've been saying, Governor Green is committed to equitable access to housing for all, whether you're FEMA eligible or ineligible. And so these 450 units at Kala'iola are for those survivors who have been displaced, who are ineligible for a FEMA rental solution, whether that is FEMA direct lease or FEMA rental assistance. So if you are not one of those individuals, you are potentially eligible for this site. And then, like I said, we are working through that. I know that may be hard because I'm sure you'd like more concrete information now. But we are committed. This project, we were the first to break ground. We're pushing really hard to get the first phase up and operational. And utilizing this community as an additional inventory for the state's housing solution. So right now we have the RAP program, the rental assistance program, where folks are being placed in Airbnbs. And then we have recently acquired the Hagai Institute, which is being converted. I had the opportunity to recently tour that facility, which will be additional dwelling units, and then also this community at Kala'iola. Does that answer your question?
Thank you for that question, and thank you, Trista.
Thank
One
you. I
more?
really appreciate because just like my neighbor that just spoke and just left, I as well paid my own mortgage and rent because of the situation that's going on, and it's hard, because we're told to go into a hotel when I have a family that you're struggling. It's tough, and we need to save money for our home. So, but thank you for your answer. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. And again, sorry, I do encourage everyone here, if you have not yet called 211 and enrolled in the disaster case management program, please do that, because as these additional programs, resources, solutions come online, I won't stand here today and pretend to know what all of them are, right? But we are, for the disaster case management program, creating, if you will, a Rolodex of, are there funds available for mortgages? Are there funds available for mental health services? What's the application process and eligibility for Kala'iola, et cetera? As these things come online, we will have that information, and we can help you, your family, your neighbors' families navigate those solutions and make sure you're referred and put in contact with them. So please call 211 to get enrolled today.
Thank you, Trista. We'll go to Sharon up there, and then in the middle.
Aloha. My question is for FEMA. I understand there's a date of May 10th that is a big push to move out of the hotels. I've spoken to several agents in the last 2 days, and we have an application in, and a place was found, but the background checks and things like that take time. What happens on May 11th?
You're correct. The date currently is May 10th, but my understanding is the state did ask for another extension. And so we'd anticipate an answer on that in the next couple of days. So it may extend past May 10th.
So the state is taking over? Is that what you're telling me?
So what happens is within NCS, FEMA funds the state for NCS. And so right now it's funded through May 10th, and the state has asked FEMA to fund it past May 10th. If you remember, it went back all the way to February, and then we got to April 10th, now May 10th. And so will be extended until we anticipate a decreased number in NCS, hopefully.
Hopefully, I understand, but Governor Green seems to think July 1st is more of a target date. Any comments on that?
I could tell you that within the FEMA direct lease program, we're licensing in families. The target would be 30 a day, but right now, I heard yesterday we're averaging like 21 a day. And so that may be average past May 10th, but I don't make the decision regarding the extension. That goes straight to the FEMA regional administrator to make that extension.
Well, it seems like we still have a long way to go. and the several phone calls and a little bit of added anxiety to everything. So we're doing the best we can, but we're at the mercy of the time frame and how fast those background checks come back, and when we can get the closeout package so they can put their tiny home or trailer and permitting. That's going to take some time.
Yeah, we understand that. If you remember when the deadline was for April 10th, I think that extension got approved probably that Friday before April 10th, so just a couple of days. And so I'd anticipate an answer to that extension here pretty quickly for the direct lease program.
Well, we all need to take a one big collective sigh and just breathe, because we're not done yet. We're not done yet. We got a long way to go.
We're not done yet, and there's a lot of people, federal, state, and county folks meet daily and have interactions with those families still in NCS, trying to target specific places that they'd be willing to move to. But I don't have to tell you, you probably know better than I do. The number of units in Lahaina, there aren't many. I mean, we lost 4,000 units. And not only the federal program, but the state program, private program for housing, and there really is no units left in Lahaina. So now the push truly is to, like you said, talk, dig in, collaborate with those folks in NCS, and then find a solution that fits best for them within the NCS timeline, and hopefully it's extended.
As I understand it, there might be more units available as of starting today, because some vacation rentals might be more available converted to long-term rentals. Is that correct?
We have the number of units needed for the FEMA eligible folks in NCS. We did put an RFP out for units that were pet friendly and maybe for access and functional needs. And that's truly, if we went out for more units, that's what it would be. But like 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedrooms, we have enough. But it just takes time, as you mentioned before, getting those folks licensed in, just primarily because of the distance away and family concerns. But we're working through those.
Well, thank you, FEMA, and thank you, everybody, for all your support and helping Lahaina.
Hello, ma'am. My name is Mary. I'm with the Red Cross, and I would just like to add a couple of facts to that. As Curtis pointed out, the May 10th date as it currently stands, that's for FEMA reimbursability. My understanding is there will be other options in place to make sure that those who are waiting on a housing solution are still being safely sheltered. I also want to take this opportunity to remind anybody that's in the NCS program, you have up to 3 based on safety or needs of your ohana. You can decline a FEMA unit for any number of reasons, but if you decline more than 3 times, that can make you ineligible for extended shelter. So when we're looking at the numbers of households, we're seeing an average of about 100 households per week that are moving out into their intermediate housing or home to their habitable house or finding another solution. So I would encourage everybody, the state, you get 1 declination and a second chance, but after 2 declinations, then your NCS eligibility becomes in question. So I encourage everybody to take the housing solution that's offered to you, keeping in mind this is a temporary solution. It doesn't need to be a permanent relocation if it's something that's less than ideal, because this will allow our government partners to accurately assess the need for remaining sheltering services past that date. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. We're going to go ahead and question here in the front and then to this row here. Sharon, we have one right on the chairs in front. Go ahead. Oh, go ahead, Mikey.
Mahalo, Mahina. I just wanted to provide context to what Charisse and George were saying about mortgage assistance. The last time that there was a mortgage issue was COVID, and the government required that mortgage backers, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, offered solutions like loan modification and loan deferral. Yeah, whatever the pause is, taking that, how many months, and moving that to the back of the loan. Well, in a natural disaster, they don't have to offer a loan deferral. So really your only option is repayment over 3 to 6 months, like a repayment plan. So basically you would be paying double or triple your mortgage once they reinstate your forbearance, or loan modification. The problem with that is that if anybody is holding a mortgage prior to August 8th, majority of us have insurance or interest rates well below what is offered right now. And so the modification is going to change the terms of our loans. And in theory, it's supposed to help to lower your payment plan, right? Or lower your payments so that you can actually pay your mortgage and your rent and all the things for the rebuild. But for the majority of us, it's actually going to increase our monthly payments. So loan modifications aren't even an option for us. So as you guys are talking to your state and federal partners, please, please, please tell them that there really is a mortgage crisis here and that they should be requiring these loan backers, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, to extend deferrals as an option and not necessarily loan modifications, because we want to keep the 570 owner-occupied Ohanas as owner-occupied. We actually want to increase that as we start to rebuild. We want more owner-occupied Ohanas in Lahaina. That is the goal, not less. So as you guys go out, I'm hoping that this context is helpful. So as you guys go out and talk to your partners, you can impress upon them that there really is a need for help in Lahaina and Kula. Thank you.
Thank you, Mikey. Appreciate that. Well said. Go ahead, Sharon, on your side. Sir, your question?
There's a hidden group of people that I've never heard addressed yet, and that are people like my kids who work here, husband and wife working hard with a couple of kids, and they're had a renting situation that's been great for 5 years until the fire, when they said, okay, you've got 1 year and you're out, and now their rent's going from $2,000 to $9,000 a month. And it's being created by this kind of FEMA. I've heard people paying $12,000 for their rent because they're in this house or that house. And there's another, they went to a person that was leaving the island to rent their house. They said, hey, we want you to rent this. And they heard about all of this stuff, and they said, well, we were going to charge you $4,000, but we can get $9,000 from FEMA now. So what do they do? Quit working in this place. They worked for 12 years with their kids and everything, and now where do they go? They're not in this. They're not in the formula, I don't think, and they need to be in the formula, because there's probably 10,000 renter kids. I say kids because they're mine, but that need to be looked at in this equation. So I hope that can happen.
Thank you, sir. We are distinctly aware of the renters' dilemma with both the Lahaina survivors, who are a large percentage are renters, as well as the cause that is happening to non-Lahaina survivors who themselves are facing the rental crisis around our island. So we continue to make sure that best we can use those programs to place them in things and adjust some policies that can help that. Looks like my boss wants to add to that.
Yeah,
So we'll
I feel like I gotta say something. I'm trying not to, but I think I have to. There are a lot of unintended consequences that have come out of this recovery. And I know FEMA takes a lot of the brunt of that because of the prices that they're willing to pay. But if I can just clarify something, it was never the intent of FEMA to pay for long-term landlords to kick out their long-term tenant to go get a FEMA rent increase. The intent, based on the county council's actions, which was to grant an exemption or zero taxes to anybody who converted from short-term to long-term. And FEMA was going to pay the short-term landlord the short-term rental rate that they were getting from last year as the rent to house an impacted family. It was always supposed to be the short-term rental or rental landlord converting to a long-term rental, taking in a family who needed help. It was never intended to what's been happening in our community. Now, I'm just going to be fair about this. You can blame FEMA for tempting, or you can blame the landlord for kicking out their renter who lived with them for 5 years, or 7 years, or 10 years, and say, well, FEMA's offering me more. Now you got to go find something else. What is that person supposed to find? Because what are the rates they're going to come up against? The same rates. Now, in fairness to FEMA, paying that increased rental amount for short-term rental rate was cheaper than paying for the hotel. So they went with that option. But let's just be clear, and everybody can choose for themselves and decide for themselves who they want to blame in this scenario. I have been meeting with the evicted tenants that have come to visit with me with this exact scenario. I was a long-term renter. I wasn't a short-term renter. I got kicked out of my long-term rental so that this person could get more money. As a community, I don't know how we feel about this, and I don't know how we want to address it, because we get we got big issues to contend with. But I am sickened by this because of what it's doing to the people who are just minding their own business, paying their rent, living in their units, and somebody says, hey, sorry, you got to go. I can get twice what I'm getting from you. So you guys decide whose fault is that.
Thank you, Mayor. Did you want to add to that? Okay.
If I may briefly, the state has been made aware of this exact concern as well, sir. And so just specifically, the Office of the Attorney General takes this very seriously. I wasn't able to pull it up quick enough, but by the end of tonight I will. There is an email. So anyone who is experiencing this scenario that, like you said, your children are, please report the landlord to the Office of the Attorney General. For the state's rental assistance program, which is one of the programs that DHS is leading, just to be very clear, if we receive that information that landlord X has either directly or constructively evicted a long-term tenant in favor of these short-term rental rates, if we learn of that, that property is put on a list, and we will not rent that property as part of the RAP program until we get to the bottom of it and track down and find out, is it truly a landlord who evicted a long-term rental in favor of higher rates, or is maybe there a miscommunication? Because we have seen that happen as well. So on the state side, that's one thing that we've tried to do on behalf of the rental assistance program to combat that. And I do encourage everyone to report any of that to the Office of the Attorney General.
Yeah, maybe I can add to that too. So the Attorney General, the Governor's Emergency Proclamation has a couple of situations where you can evict. If you are renovating, making a major renovation, if your family member was impacted by the fire and you're making room for them to move into your unit. I mean, I think most people could understand that. You're creating room, or people are saying, well, they're coming back from the mainland or something, or you're selling your unit. So some landlords were telling their tenants, I'm going to do one of those three things, and then renting it to FEMA. And so the tenant, what we've talked with the governor about, and the AG, and the governor, through the governor, who's AG, is to require those landlords to fill out a declaration or an affidavit swearing to that, because then you can hold them to it. But initially, when someone would report it, they'd say, oh, but the landlord told me their child is moving back in, and I couldn't prove that they were not, that wasn't true. So of course I moved out, and then I found out that they rented to somebody from FEMA. Now I want to say something about FEMA. They are also not renting to landlords who do not follow, the property eviction things. Now, I'm not talking about a situation where the tenancy expired. Okay, if you have a tenant and it's expired, the tenancy is expired, and they don't want to reissue a new lease. I think landlords do have rights, and so I'm not blaming that category. I'm just talking about ones that are breaking leases and jumping. But I'm saying that landlords have rights too. I mean, they can choose their tenants, and if it's a 1-year lease, a 2-year lease, and the lease is expired, they can go with a new tenant. I mean, that's allowed. But FEMA's also not. So there's a lot of legal stuff in there. I didn't want to get into all the nitty gritty, but that's kind of what's happening on this front. I'm sorry about your son.
Yeah, he's correct. And so over the last probably 2 months, we've received 10 complaints from long-term renters that were evicted. And we logged those addresses, and then maybe on 1 or 2 found that they were in the process of going to our direct lease program, but we cut ties with that property owner and then advised that family that was evicted to contact the Attorney General's office.
Thank you, Curtis. Go ahead, Sharon. You have 2 questions there. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on. Colonel? Oh, this is a hot
topic. Boy, I just wanted to say this week we started on Kahoma Village. There's 4 or 5 units that burned there. We've finished 1. We've cleared all the debris off 1. We're working on the second one today. Hopefully by next week we'll have the other 2 or 3 done. I know that's just a small, it's just a couple properties. But what I've been talking to locals that live in Kahoma Village, they are super excited about this because they think that that'll give the opportunity for other residents that had moved out because of the debris situation to move back in. Again, that's just one small example. Puamana, we are, I don't know, maybe 50% or more past residential debris clearance there. They've got some water and sewer issues, and I'm working with the water and sewer folks with the county to see if we can't come up with a creative solution that might allow some of those to reopen. Now, I don't know if who owns all those and how that works, but these are some examples of ways we're trying to find the homes that that did not burn to the ground, but are inhabitable if we can clean up the neighborhood around them. And so we're working to that. Again, it's not going to solve the housing problem, but we are trying to prioritize those so that we can get as many people back in them, and then that'll free up the houses that they're living in for others to move into.
Thank you, Colonel. Go ahead, Pam. Question.
Hi, thank you everybody for helping our community. I appreciate it. I just wanted to add another face and another story to the other 3 people who commented on how they were living in their primary residence. I owned a primary residence. I occupied it. I'm still paying a mortgage on it. I would just really urge you to advocate for us and find ways to support us, whether it's through free housing after the FEMA funding runs out or rental assistance. So just think of us and advocate for us, please.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Go ahead. One more question there. Okay.
Actually, I have a statement. At this point in time, every pet from Lahaina is an emotional support animal and should be allowed to live wherever the owners are living because of the trauma that those owners went through just trying to stay alive, getting out of Lahaina town. You cannot imagine what it's like to have the car next to you as you're driving in the highway blow up. You can't imagine it. The other thing I need to ask is for 20 years, my neighborhood has been going house by house, condo by condo, short-term rental. And we have been complaining about it to the county for 20 years, begging them to stop it, to put enforcement out there, to lower the number of short-term rentals in residential neighborhoods and to stop the illegal ones. Now that this crisis has happened, what are you going to do about that?
Thank you for both question and comment, Mayor.
We're going to increase our enforcement on illegal short-term rentals. And we are going to make an announcement very soon, okay, tomorrow, on how we intend to address some of the short-term rentals that are currently in our county based on the law that was passed today that returns that decision to counties, which the governor will be signing on Friday. So stay tuned.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll take another question if there is one. Other than that, our team will be here. Mary from the Red Cross wants to round off.
Hi, I didn't want to overlook your statement about the pets because I 100% agree with you. And this is actually a conversation we've been having since October, November. FEMA is willing to pay pet deposits, and I know that they're actively looking for pet-friendly units. Also through Red Cross community liaising, we've been able to work with Maui Humane Society, who have been incredible partners, helping to identify people willing to take pets. So that is, you're 100% right, and I just wanted to reinforce. Go ahead.
Stand by. Stand by so that we can get your question or comment. Can we get a mic over to her?
By Hawaii state law, if your pet is declared an emotional support animal by a counselor, they can live anywhere you can live. And we need to enforce that.
Thank you for that reminder. Our team will be here throughout the time as usual. Mayor, do you have any closing thoughts or comments?
Really, I just want to thank you again for coming and giving up your Wednesday evening to come. The favorite nights for both Carl and Colonel. And I'm going to tell you this, they mean it. I absolutely know in talking to them, they look forward to this. They want to problem solve. They want to help our community. They're not even from our community, folks. I mean, how about it for these folks that come to us every week and do this? And actually, I take that back. They are from our community now. They are. And so everybody be safe. And if you want to come talk to us, we'll be up here. Aloha.